Secrets of Top-Selling Agents with your hosts, Deborah Helleran and Mel McMurrin.
Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Deb Helleran and I'm the producer and host of Secrets of Top-Selling Agents, coming to you live from our Northern California Cobb Mountain studio. I'm here as always with my reliable sound engineer and co-host Mel McMurrin. Today we are so lucky, Mel. Who have we got with us?
Well, we got a guy I call the hardest working man at the NIR Expo. He was everywhere. He's a speaker, he's a blogger, he's a real estate consultant, and he's guy's literally and figuratively always on the move.
Indeed. Chris is a co-founder of Curated.com, a conversation search engine. He's chief evangelist for Inman News and chief paper killer for .loop, the fastest growing real estate software ever.
He was co-founder of the award-winning blog Tech Savvy Agent and was named Inman News People Choice as the most influential person in the real estate industry.
Chris has spoken at every major real estate conference on the topics such as mobile apps, social media marketing, video production, and emerging technologies. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. I'm excited, and where we have to start is addressing this. And if you're on Twitter, let me know. I want to ask you guys to answer 3 quick things in a tweet. Did you get an iPad mini or a regular-sized iPad? Did you get the Wi-Fi only or the LTE, right, the data? And did you get a 16, 32, or 64 gig? So if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag #SecretsWebinars so everyone else can kind of see what the other people are out there buying. And I actually think that's where you have to kind of start. And the name of the class is, So You Bought an iPad, Now What? Well, if you bought a Wi-Fi only and you plan on doing like listing presentations in people's homes, you would need then like a MiFi device. That's what's on the screen there. Or you would need to be able to tether with your iPhone. So I always try to give out some advice on this because everybody kind of dances around it. iPad mini versus iPad regular, for me personally, the iPad mini being a little bit smaller causes me to use it exponentially more. You can't hold your iPad regular in one hand. And so I use it twice as often, even if the screen's a little smaller. The iPad regular size is obviously a great option too. As far as the gigs, I always like to just address this really quickly. Gigabytes, what should you have? What should you use? If you have 16 gigs, that's going to fill up pretty quick. But for me, I use Dropbox for photos and videos. I don't keep MP3s. I use Pandora. So a lot of it just comes down to how are you going to use the device. If you're good with the cloud, then you probably can get away with a 16 gig. So for me, those kind of 3 key elements at the beginning, mini or max, right? LTE versus Wi-Fi, and then how big of a storage device do you need? So the thing is, a lot of people are already on the call that already have a regular without LTE, and it's only 16 gigs. So the point is, you better get good at using the cloud. If you got a bunch of storage and you didn't know why, you'll be okay without saving things potentially. So I think that's kind of something where a lot of people don't start. And then before I even get into kind of the next thing that you can do that's cool, so you bought an iPad, now what? For me, owning an iPad and then also using it in your business is no longer making you like a innovator or a bleeding edge realtor. To me, it's like a hotel having a bed. You can't even really market that. That is going to be the standard for people that do business mobily, whether that's a waitress coming to my table or whether that's a realtor coming to my home to do a listing presentation. So unfortunately, there's less of a differentiation today than there was before. So this is now kind of the late adopter phase when it comes to iPads and mobile. And I just think that's important to actually address. Then the other thing is like that, now that you maybe have an iPad, I'm guessing if you're tuning in, you either have one or you're going to buy one. Trust me, if you listen till the end, you're going to buy one. So the other thing is kind of there's some really great additional things you can do, kind of like third-party tools. So, at the end of the day, there's kind of some ancillary services, right? And so Apple TV for me is a must. If you right now own an iPad and you own a TV that has an HDMI in, which should be almost anything, it would almost be anything literally made after like '07. What you can then do is you can actually send that, let's see here. I'm going to send the presenter back to you, Deb. I think you sent the presenter to me and it kind of messed up. So.
Yeah.
I just sent it back to you, and
Got
that
it.
should probably fix that.
Okay, there you go.
Cool. So long story short, the iPad's great, but what happens when you can kind of like be watching Netflix on your iPad and then just mirror that over with the audio to your television? When you're working or doing searches, or when you're kind of like playing Angry Birds, the ability to be able to take your iPad or iPhone as well, and with an Apple TV plugged into your television, you can then mirror in real time everything. When the first iPad came out, you could only mirror like Keynote and YouTube. Now, if you turn that little mirroring tag on because you have Apple TV, you can mirror everything that's on your iPad. So it's a great best practice. MacBooks, you can mirror if you have a MacBook, an iPad, and an iPhone. Anything that you're working on those devices mirrors in real time. So take a look at the Apple TV. Definitely a great option. Let's see here. Can you guys go to the next one for me? I don't think I can click forward here.
Yeah, I'll do it. We're getting all these
cool.
signs from GoTo that says you're at capacity.
We are going to absolutely take the takeaways up a notch. So the next concept with your mobile devices, and specifically your iPad, is notifications. I'm not going to go right to the apps, right, because that's what everybody does. But if you don't set yourself up for success, your iPad will just become another disorganized device that you use, right? And so quit thinking about it as an iPad or mobile. Start thinking about it as what you're going to probably run your business on, and that would involve organization. So this isn't so sexy, but it's really important. And so in the notifications of your device, what happens when you add an app? You guys know this. Do you want to get push alerts? Do you want to let us know where you're at? They put the answer on the right-hand side that they want you to press. And so a lot of people say, yeah, I'll take notifications. Eventually you kind of learn. But at the end of the day, the notifications are going to kind of ruin your life if you let them. And so I challenge everybody on your phone and your iPad right now, go into your settings, go into notifications, and if you have an app that I'm going to show in a second, it's really cool. It's called Pimp My Screen, right? And it gives you like these insanely beautiful desktops on your iPad. But if you're doing a listing presentation and Pimp My Screen comes out with a new like logo, you don't really need a push alert right then. So you have to kind of control that. And a lot of times you have to go backwards and undo a bunch of allowed pushes. So go to notifications, turn off the badge alerts, turn off the badge app icons, get rid of all that crap, you guys. It's like the crack that keeps everyone coming back. They want you to come back to your device. We want to use the iPad when it's time for us to use it. And you guys know your devices kind of control you. Another thing that's cool here with your email for the iPad and also your Android or iPhone, there's an app called Wayfind. And it's another way to keep your mobile device from driving you crazy. And what it'll do is every email that you get, it'll look at it and you tell it if it's an important sender or if it has a certain keyword. So if you're getting a homes.com lead, you would want to get a push alert. If you're getting an email from someone whose home's listed, you would want to get a push alert. But you might not want a push alert for, the new Victoria's Secret marketing email, right? Maybe you do. You know what I mean? But the point is you need to have control of that, and it's hard. Wayfind is an app that does that. Next slide for me. So getting into the specifics, if you can hit next there for me, Deb. Thanks.
Yep.
This is the app I mentioned. You get this kind of default desktop, and then Apple gives you like 3 other home screens. But I think this Pimp Your Screen is, sorry for the name there, but, that's what it's called, Pimp Your Screen. They have so many amazing high-res, ready for the iPad backgrounds that are gorgeous. The other thing I think you really should do is get a high-resolution photo of your own logo in your camera roll, okay? This is, if you're on Twitter, tweet this out. Add your logo to the home screen of your iPad. All you have to do is get a picture in your photo roll and click on it and hit set as home page. That looks so professional, you guys. I can't even tell you. And then if you don't want to do your logo, obviously they have like a million options here. So we can go to the next one. But just a quick, aesthetics, right? Like when you're on your desktop, you make sure you have like a background that you kind of like looking at. Well, don't forget, this iPad is a computer. It's not just a mobile device. Here's another great best practice. So if you're, okay, I want to just make one quick joke because this is about the iPad. People know that's Apple. I have no obligation to talk about anything but the iPad today. That's why I called it that. But, you know, I'm going to make fun of Internet Explorer. And, you know, the best thing you can do with it is download Google Chrome. That is the best thing it does. And so what my recommendation is with the iPad is if you're a Chrome user, which I am, instead of using Safari on the iPad, you can use Chrome. And then everything you do on your regular computer all day, when you go to Chrome, your favorites are there, your bookmarks are there. So obviously, like with Google and Android, all that stuff kind of syncs up a little easier. But if you use the Google Chrome browser instead of Safari, and you use Google Chrome daily, you will have a much more organized life. How many times have you stood up from your desk with 30 tabs open? Okay, next slide. I think I got him with that one.
Okay.
Next slide. So the next thing is, now that we kind of have a little bit of kind of the blocking and tackling, let's call it, right? The basics that most of the people on the call never thought to do. If you guys are in the chat box, we had a rocky start, okay? But in the little question box and on Twitter, let us know how we're doing now, because our goal is that by the end we did a great job, and I think that we've recovered wonderfully, and the class is moving. So we're going to go into a little bit more beyond the basics. Every time you get asked how the market is, you can have a strategy that involves your iPad, and I want to share that with you guys. It's the most common question that you get, so I think you should have it almost scripted and use a little technology when you get that question. So let's go to the next slide. It's actually a pretty simple concept. On your iPad, you're going to have market reports. You can build them yourself. You can have a product from homes.com that builds them. This is another product that builds market reports. Anything that would kind of visually show me how the market was. So see how that's just really simple. Really quickly, you can see a good snapshot of the market there. And so when somebody does that, what I recommend is that you would then go to the next slide for me. You would have that data so you could talk a little bit about the trends, but then on your own website, just a little trickier, on your own website, I want you to go into Safari on the iPad and pull up a page on your website that would be basically like your market report page, right? So a lot of agents have forms that you can request a CMA, or they have like an opt-in to get a market report, right? So have that page specifically of your website, and then you're going to do something really, really easy to do, which is add it to your home screen of your iPad. You guys see that button? So just to the left of the browser, you're going to click that button, and even though you don't have an app, you can put this landing page of your website on your home screen. So now when you're at Starbucks, now when somebody says, how's the market, right on your home screen, you click the button, you can show them the market data, and then you can put their information into the form before they walk away. That's the key. So the iPad is able to answer questions and show people things that before we would have said, I'll get back to you with that. And then did we get back? Sometimes we got busy, right? So how's the market should become an email drip campaign through the iPad. I want to challenge people to think that way. The last couple of things here is, you know, where do I start? A lot of people say, where do I personally start? Because I got this thing and we're going to go through all the apps that you should start with, but where do I personally start? Everybody has kind of a unique position. So where you start is you get a pen and paper, and that doesn't sound very chief paper killer of me, but get a pen and paper, and I want you to write down the 10 to 15 things right now that you do to run your business each day. So if you're on Facebook every day, Gmail every day, if you're responding to leads and making calls, whatever it is, write down the things that you do daily to run your business, and then see if there's an app, and then see if there's a good app. So if I was going to write down, I want to be able to automatically text people when I get a lead from, a lead source. That would be something I would say, there's my problem. Is there an app that does that? Is there a technology that solves that? Where most of the people that aren't going to listen to this call today are going to start is they're going to start with the app. They're not going to start with the problem. So write down the challenges in your business. Write down the operations and the systems you have now. and then see if there's an app for that. And then just do searches like the best apps that do this, the best iPad apps that, etc. So good stuff there. So next slide for me. We're going to get in, and I know my man Joe Cesso is coming on in a minute to talk a little bit about Homes.com, and Joe's a good friend of mine, so he's going to be a great speaker as well, which is cool. This guy's a national speaker, and I'm excited to hear him. But I wanted to get into some apps. We're going to cover 2 quick categories of apps before Joe comes on, and these are going to be apps that, you know, at the end I do cover a couple that are a little bit futuristic, but people like that. You know, they're a little bit kind of jaw-dropping. But for the most part, I want to cover a suite of apps that if you use, you basically would probably be running 90% of your operations and potentially your marketing. So let's go through these. And the reason I have the slide with the buckets is on an iPad, you have folders. And so what I do is as I go through each bucket of app type, for me on a home page, that would be a folder. If you have more than one page of apps on your iPad, you're doing it wrong, okay? And I know some of you guys have like 16 pages and you have like, you're trying to find like a document for your client and there's like 4 different Angry Birds games surrounding it, right? So what I recommend is have a rule. If you can't fit enough stuff on one page using folders, you probably shouldn't have the app. A lot of times people do what I call app hoarding. They just keep them and never get rid of them. You have to get rid of them. And then when you find these categories that are kind of all related, put them all in the same folder, call the folder something really specific. So that's a good strategy for organization. So first category, quite simply, for me, because we want it to be fun, go ahead for the next slide for me, is going to be listing presentation apps, okay? So how can you bring the iPad with you and do a presentation? Or how can you build a listing presentation using only the iPad? And so there are a million options, but I don't like giving you guys a million options. So I'm going to give you 2. Haiku Deck is a game-changing kind of an app. It's on the iPad. It takes all this kind of nonsense of charts and graphs and, you know, too many words on a slide and all this kind of noisy marketing that we normally see, and it forces it to be simple. And I wrote an article about a guy that got a big $1 million listing, and the feedback was, you know, you were the only person we could even understand. And it's so simple. So take a look at Haiku Deck, where it follows my favorite technology kind of ism, which is that simplicity is genius. If you want something easy but beautiful and impressive, take a look at Haiku Deck. And then the next one, and again, there's going to be people, you guys, there's so many people listening, they're going to get on Twitter and say, what about this one? What about that one? I've used them all, you guys. I know what Prezi is. I know what Slide Rocket is. You know, I know what all those are, but those aren't the best options because it's just too much sometimes. So Haiku Deck is simple, and then Keynote is built for the iPad. And so it is a little tougher if you have a PC to use Keynote, but they're even building it where a PowerPoint from your computer can simply be emailed to yourself. When you open it on the iPad, it converts it automatically. And so Keynote is the one that you can do anything you want. You can build the charts and graphs, and you can get really insanely, you know, detailed. Has beautiful transitions made by Apple, so it's a native app. And Haiku Deck is something where if you want to be a little bit different but still be really cool and modern, it's a great option.
Hey,
all
Chris,
the other options are cool too. Yes, ma'am.
David said Haiku, when exported, becomes a PowerPoint file. Is that right?
That's right. So here's what you would do. So if you have we're at like 75-80% PC users on the call. I just know that, okay? Mm-hmm. And so they would build the Haiku Deck in iPad. Yep. They would email it to themselves, open it on their computer. It'd go right into PowerPoint. They could add more charts. They could edit it there. Okay. So it is even though it's very iPad-ish, because it's actually, you can't build a Haiku Deck anywhere but an iPad. And that's actually part of the reason it's so simple. There's no buttons. There's no mouse, you know.
Interesting.
Cool. But no, that's actually a huge tip because you don't want to feel like, oh, if I do all this stuff on the iPad, it doesn't work with my PC.
Right.
You know, and the technology, in my opinion, is at the point where it doesn't matter anymore. Things are becoming very backward compatible.
Right. And Jay said the Haiku deck is free.
It is free. And Keynote, I think, is $9.99. But, Haiku deck at the cost of free is a steal. And they're adding charts and graphs. And I know these CEOs. It's an awesome company.
Right.
Cool. Next slide. Couple more, and then we're going to get into to Joe's session. So really quickly, social media, this isn't a class on social. I do all kinds of classes on social, but I just want to make one really clear point when it comes to social and mobile and why they're so important. The fact that people are like checking their iPads, checking their iPhones and Androids all day, checking Instagram, checking Twitter, checking Facebook, checking LinkedIn, that is important because wherever people's attention is, that's where their kind of top-of-mind awareness is going to be. And so the problem with a lot of realtors that I've seen is that they're only comfortable using social media when they buckle up to the computer. Meaning, like, if they have time on Saturday to sit down and turn it on and, like, do Facebook, they do it. Or if they have a few minutes in the morning or in the afternoon to do it, they do it, right? But at the end of the day, if you don't use social via mobile, you're probably never going to have a ton of success with social. And it's because of the way the algorithms work, right? Like, if I log into Facebook once a week, there are about 1 billion conversations that took place over that week. And so I'm just kind of disappearing from their formula. But if I'm on my phone at lunch and I hop in and like a few things, if I'm on my iPad on the couch at night and I tweet a couple things and I kind of, share a couple status updates, when that happens, you guys, something kind of changes where you become top of mind daily, not kind of irrelevant monthly, to be honest. So that's just a little of a social class, inside of an app class.
Great
the first one, of course, is going to be Facebook. The iPad app used to kind of suck. I have to say that. It was terrible for a long time. So was the iPhone app. But they've made a lot of progress. They purchased Instagram. Their engineers have made it faster. They bought a company called Gowalla. Their technology's in there now making it faster. So you can also, I think, use Facebook and Safari in the browser very simply, but make sure you're logging in on your iPad or your phone often and just engaging with your sphere. Next slide. Thank you.
Sure.
LinkedIn. LinkedIn, ironically, may be the worst social network for getting business, but it may be the best social network for their mobile app, which is ironic. It's a beautiful experience on the iPad, you guys. They did something really interesting recently. A lot of you guys are like 50 plus. You're not really looking for a lot of the crap that's on Twitter. They actually got rid of all the tweets. They said, we don't want tweets in here. Tweets are filling up our kind of business-focused user interface with, Bieber, right, or Gaga stuff. And so LinkedIn kind of said, hey, we're going to take a stand and get rid of that stuff. The content there is great now, ever since they did it, in my opinion. The other two things that are really important, look right there in the middle. Who viewed your profile, right? Who viewed your profile? Well, if somebody viewed your profile, maybe you reach out to them. Maybe you say, hey, what's up, man? Why are you checking me out? What's going on? You want to work together? The other one would be, who has a new job, right? I mean, if somebody has a new position, if somebody changed jobs, and you are in a real estate relationship type business, that may be a much better call to make than even their birthday or something. So, hop in the LinkedIn app, kind of fulfill your high level needs, as a business person, and then reach out to a couple of people that, are showing some reasons you should reach out. The next one is going to be called Google Hangouts, which is a feature within Google Plus. I'm going to fly through this, but if you want to do up to 10 people conference call and screen share, it's what we're using to make sure we have more than 1,000 on. If you want to do conference calls and screen shares with 10 people, and they could be on an Android, you could be on your PC, I can be on my iPad, the other dude can be in Europe, like on his BlackBerry, maybe, by the way. Don't quote me on the BlackBerry working. But, the concept here, guys, is that this is a pretty powerful technology that 10 years ago, if I tried to sell you, you probably would have given me thousands of dollars. Google is offering it for free. So if you're not using Google Plus for anything else, at least take advantage of this really cool technology called Google Plus Hangouts, which is really neat. Next one here, and I'm going to go through this one quickly. If you're into Twitter and you're not using Hootsuite, I think you're really missing out. And if you've ever wondered, that you couldn't quite figure out Twitter. For the longest time, Twitter.com had the worst apps. So things like Hootsuite and TweetDeck were a much better way to use Twitter. And so if you're using Twitter on your iPad, I can't tell you guys how much I love Hootsuite. I have a column right now, Pound Secrets Webinars. I have another column for when people mention me. And so it's just very simple. At the end of this webinar, I'm going to go on Twitter, thank every single person that tweeted. I'm going to answer every question that I got. And I can do that in 2 seconds because it's in one column. I don't see this like Shaquille O'Neal, Perez Hilton, CNN, and those tweets. And so Hootsuite makes that real easy for me. I'm a huge evangelist. I mean, I've been using it for like 4 years. So you got to always give them a plug with social media. And then content, well, now we're going to get into the really cool stuff, which is like, okay, now I kind of get that this could run my business. I understand how to get it set up. Show me some of the cool stuff. Like, what is the stuff you use? Content is king, right? The problem is realtors don't have time a lot of times to create content, right? And so what I'm going to share with you guys is a way to turn your iPad on every day, fill up your knowledge base for yourself, but then with like a click or two, share that socially. And it's just like before, I always say, like, when I woke up in the morning with my dad growing up, the first thing we did is we grabbed the paper and then we looked at the box scores for the Chicago Cubs. And I always wanted to see how Ryan Sandberg, Andre Dawson, Mark Grace did, right? Well, if I could have hit like a button in the paper and let my buddies at high school knew that I was pumped about that, I would have done it then. It just wasn't there. You know what I did? I went to school and told them. And so now it's just you can do both, okay? It's not that complicated, but people get a little scared about this whole like sharing and kind of social stuff. So the first app when it comes to content is if you're looking for things that will drop jaws on Facebook. So a lot of times the people that get like the most engagement and the most interaction socially are the people that kind of share the coolest stuff, the most beautiful images. There's an app called The Fancy. On the iPad, it's an insanely beautiful experience. And if you go into the architecture and travel section, you will find some of the most tweetable, shareable content on the web. It's beautiful. Whoever chooses what goes in there has an insanely good eye for just design and style. So The Fancy is an app on your iPad. I bet about like 98% of you are downloading it because you don't have it. Another really good one is called Houzz, Houzz, okay? And I'm going to be careful here because Houzz has been in the news, and there's some other companies that are kind of mimicking what Houzz is doing because it's popular, okay? And so what Houzz offers is the most beautiful images, this amazing user experience, this insanely good interface for browsing ideas for basically remodeling. And so what the agents that are using Houzz for do is they share it with their clients that are going to do some renovations. They show them how the idea books work, and they basically kind of collaboratively help them build the ideas for the renovation that they're going to do before they sell. And that's just a great long-term marketing strategy. Beautiful app, one of my favorite apps, Houzz. Of course, Pinterest, it's another great place. Like for me, as kind of like a dude, okay, I'm not going into Pinterest, a lot. I did it first. I thought it was going to be cool. I built some like geek boards, but it definitely is skewing a little bit with the demographics female. It definitely is like arts and crafts and stuff like that. There's definitely a lot of home stuff there. And so instead of using Pinterest for me as like a way to meet new people or to like have like, hey, I don't have a lot of recipes I'm curating there. For me, I can go into the real estate section and then again, find some really great stuff to share on Facebook and share on Twitter. So it's a gold mine. I mean, search Pinterest the way you would search Google. You'll find insanely cool stuff anytime, night or day. So Pinterest on the iPad is super cool. This is another really great app. This is an app from a company called Evernote, but the app is actually called Sketch. And what's really cool about this on your iPad, you can take a screen capture of any web page. You can take basically, really at the end of the day, any image, any web page, any Google map. And what it does is it brings it into Sketch so that you can draw on top of it, so that you can crop it, so that you could create a URL. So let's say you wanted to grab like a screen grab of your website on the iPad and say, hey, it's broken at the top. What's up? You could type that right on the image. You could share it as a URL. So Skitch is kind of like Jing. If you guys know what Jing is, Skitch is like Jing for the iPad. Pretty good explanation there. Really cool tool built by Evernote. The next one, this is going to get into traditional like news content, like reading in the morning. And so Zeit is, over the last 3 years, the only app I still use every day. Okay, and that says a lot, you guys. The reason Zeit is so powerful, you can see there it says Intelligent Magazine. Those of you that know what Pandora is, Zeit is Pandora for news. And so when you listen to a song on Pandora and you say thumbs down, they don't play it again. So in Zeit, when you read an article and it sucks, they don't show you another one like it again. If you read an article and it's good, they show you more like it. And so it gets intelligent over time. CNN bought this app for $25 million. It is the most, for me, the way it dynamically gets smarter and better. Again, I don't know what else to say. I've tried them all. News 360, I've tried like Flipboard, all these different apps. They all come and go. Zeit is a home run for me. So great app, Zeit. Next one that I'll get into is, what about the articles that you want to read from a specific source? So just think about the Huffington Post, maybe Inman News, maybe like the New York Times, maybe your local paper. Google Currents is an app that's available for the iPad and all the mobile devices, where instead of having like 50 different apps for 50 different news sites, you just have Google Currents and you put all of their articles in the library there. And to me, that's just another thing about kind of being smarter. I have one app with 50, news sources instead of 50 apps. It just makes sense. So Google Currents solves a big problem there for me. And then I think the last one, or there's two left, Huffington Post has this beautiful iPad app. One of the reasons I think Huffington Post is a great site to keep an eye on as an agent is because they break a lot of news. They have a curation approach to news. They don't write a lot of their own news. They curate it. And so they have a really cool approach. So if you want to kind of break news in your area, set up some Huffington Post alerts. They are going to probably break news before most organizations. And anything kind of breaking, when you bring it to Facebook or Twitter, it just does really well. So HuffPo, Huffington Post. And then I think this is the last one here, but it's TED. And for those of you that have never seen a TED Talk, I just want you guys before midnight tonight to watch a TED Talk. And the reason I think this is a cool app for, content is sometimes in this industry, and being an entrepreneur especially, we get caught up in the fact that this stuff is hard, right? I mean, this is not easy. And so what the TED app does for me is it gives me a mental reset. When you watch a video about how they're putting like water into people's lives that don't have water, your internet marketing challenges don't quite seem as tough. And so for me, TED, especially the iPad app, because it's so gorgeous, I try to log in once a week and just kind of watch something that puts things in perspective. And I think that's a good strategy for any business owner. The photo apps, I think, deserve their own bucket. And we'll go to the first one. When you think about photo apps right now, you have to start with Instagram, right? Because Instagram has become this, the most popular photo sharing social network. So Flickr and, some of these photo sites in the past never quite got social right. And so Instagram is, Pinterest, you don't really pin your own stuff. Instagram, these are photos we're taking in our day-to-day lives. And so they built a social network 100% around photos that was 100% mobile. And it worked. And they have over 100 million users now. And they're growing faster than Twitter now. And they're now owned by Facebook for $1 billion. And so if you're not immersed in kind of that Instagram kind of world, and just think about that for your own business. I mean, look at that screen. Images are everything right now with social. Well, photos are everything when it comes to real estate. If I went to the homepage of your website, would I see 8 beautiful photos of homes? or would I see one decent photo of you? And I know that sounds mean, but you guys have to understand this is what we're used to all day. And then we end up with these, gaudy kind of marketing efforts within our space. So, there's more lessons to be learned from Instagram than just to download it, but I also recommend downloading it. We'll leave it at that. The other app that I think is really critical, and this actually gets a little beyond like your typical like social, like quick, Instagram's pretty lightweight. Like I'm eating, I take a picture, I put a filter, I tweet it, I'm done. And then I like finish eating, right? Well, this is an app called Snapseed. And Snapseed, in my opinion, is so good at photo editing that you should use it to edit your listing photos. And I'm not kidding. It has, and think about this, by the way, there's no buttons. And so that's kind of weird. And it has this amazing user experience where you just drag on the screen. So I would click on the grass. I would basically like click on the grass and then drag to the right, and it will make the grass greener. I don't even know how they do it. Trust me. You would click on the clouds, and then you would drag left, and it would make them a little bit more doom and gloomy. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to make like the sky a little brighter, the grass a little greener, things like that, really quickly without having like a degree in photo editing, Snapseed was the iPad app of the year in 2011. So that thing has some history. 2012, iPhone app of the year, Instagram. We're seeing a pattern. So definitely photo apps, again, deserve their own bucket. Now, when you talk about editing beyond photos, when you think about video, and I know a lot of the people on this call are either doing video or will be, if you're on Twitter right now, please tweet this out. If you're not doing video yet, you will be within 18 months. Pound Secrets webinars. I just am that passionate about the fact that the web and mobile and iPads, I crawl in bed with my iPad and watch Netflix. Do you? Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily crawl into my bed and like flip through photos, right? So maybe videos have to, get us onto the couch, right? Whatever it is. So video marketing, it's not hard to shoot videos. The cameras are like sick on the phones and the flips and all these things. What's hard is to edit. And so for me, when I was able to start actually doing some decent editing was when I started using iMovie for the iPad. iMovie on the iPad is about 18 times easier to use than it is on a MacBook. It costs like $5 or $10, so it's super cheap. And it's all drag and drop. Remember, there's very few buttons. And so it has to be a very easy interface. So if you want to do video editing that doesn't make you go crazy, take a look at iMovie. I highly recommend giving it a shot. It's super simple. All right, so 3 photo apps. I didn't want to cover a million. Again, if I give you guys like 80 apps, 60 will be deleted. So this is also something good to tweet out. Your mobile strategy should be deep, not wide, okay? And what I mean by that is you should have 10 apps that you use to the nth degree to make your life better instead of 1,000 apps that you barely know are even on your iPad. So your mobile and your technology really in general strategy should be depth, not width. And I think a lot of you are kind of wide. You're not going deep with the things that you're actually putting your investments into. So, take that for what it's worth. But back office and productivity is something that everybody can appreciate. And I'm going to cover a couple that are my favorite and also a couple that you guys just need. And so one of them is if you just refuse to do anything with a Mac or Apple, but somehow some guy talked you into an iPad, you can get an app called Cloud On. And in fact, there's about to be a Microsoft-built app for all the PowerPoint, Doc, Excel. Everything's going to be built for the iPad by Microsoft. So think about how the world's changing there. They can't beat them on the tablet, so they have to build an app for their stuff on the tablet. Hello, that's a big deal. And so Cloud On, for now, is a great option that actually will give you kind of PC compatibility, even though it's on an iPad. A couple other ones. The one that I actually use, I try to stay as far away from Microsoft products as I can. So I actually use Google Drive, And if Homes.com is owned by Microsoft, I'm sorry, that was a total accident. I don't think about stuff like that.
No, they're not.
But for me, it's just when people say it, once you kind of get into the Mac, you don't go back, but you do go back if you have a PC. And so that's why Cloud On's important. Right. Another one that's great is Google Drive. And so Google Drive has become kind of my version of Word and my version of Excel. And it does have the same kind of .doc endings that you need. Another good best practice here is you can put your presentations in Google Drive, your listing presentations, and then they have an offline option. So while you're connected to the internet, you back up anything you would need offline in an emergency. Like when I present at conferences, I can't rely on the Wi-Fi to get my presentation out of Dropbox. That'd be crazy. So I have it in Google Drive. I toggle it offline, and then you don't need a connection to get to it when you're ready. So Google Drive for me is kind of what Microsoft is for most people. And then the other thing is if you have a lot of people on this call, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I want to apologize on your MLS's behalf that they're not compatible with the iPad yet. I get in trouble for saying that stuff, but it's true. We need things to be compatible with Safari and with the iPad. And, tweet that out. It's got to be that way, you guys. The industry's shifting. People are buying these devices at an insane pace, and, our industry's developing for them at a snail's pace, and that's upsetting. And so Log Me In is kind of something that'll help you in the meantime. If you leave your PC on at home, and that has your MLS, and that has some of your stuff that you need, you can call up your screen from your house on your iPad anytime. That's called Log Me In, and it's very easy to do. So that would be something that for those of you that have those issues, it's a little bit of a workaround, but it's not the end of the world. I would certainly deal with that over potentially, having to get a different tablet that doesn't have all these great apps. A couple last ones on productivity. Evernote. Evernote is where you basically back up every thought you have that you'll probably forget. So what you would draw on a napkin before, you put in Evernote now. Everybody should be using it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Evernote is just really smart. Here's another cool option. So just like Log Me In, go to Meeting. And if you're on Twitter right now, please let me know, are you watching this webinar on your iPad right now? Because if you get the Go to Meeting app, you can tune into the Secrets webinars from your iPad. I have actually sat on a balcony in Hawaii and watched a webinar on my iPad. It was awesome. And so that's just probably something a lot of people didn't realize that we were at that point. And so, the next one of these, the Pinterest one next month, you can watch on your iPad. So I love being able to do that. Another cool app, Go to Meeting. And then the last couple are going to just basically, the goal is here, can we get somebody's jaw to drop? Can we get somebody to basically just kind of freak out that you made them smile, right? That you made them kind of drool on the screen. So the next part of the class is how do we get people to drool on our screen? That's going to be it. And the first one is called Open Home Pro. If you don't have Open Home Pro on your iPad, you're truly missing out. It completely revolutionizes the sign-in process. And by that, I mean it gets rid of the pen and paper that gets you fake emails, and it makes you actually seem super cool by getting you real emails on an iPad, and it emails them to thank them automatically. And if you lower the price, it actually notifies them automatically. This is a really, really amazing app, you guys. And so Open Home Pro, I think a lot of you do have it. If you don't have it, I know the owner, and so you're welcome to email him. He said he had like 10 codes that he would give away, so you better do it quick. Andrew@openhomepro.com. There you go. It's $15 now. It was free for the first 2 years. When you build something that's great, you have to charge for it eventually, folks. Next one. This is an app called Roambi, ROAMBI. We might want to throw that in the chat, only because it's a little tricky. ROAMBI. And what this does, it's a little bit of an advanced technology. It looks like it, but all you're doing is you're taking a standard CSV file. So you would have a column in Excel that you would upload into Roambi, and then it would look like this. and then you can spin it and, zoom it and do all these cool things with it. So if you're into data and you want to be able to show people on your iPad, truly how the market's doing and really dig into different neighborhoods and different zip codes and all those things, if you're a data geek, Rowambi was meant for you. And it's super cool. So take a look at Rowambi for the iPad. And then I think we have this and one more. This is called Tourist. I don't think a lot of you guys have this, but you're going to love it. So it's Tourist. You see it right on the screen there. You can put in any address in the world, like Paris, Brazil, London, Chicago, anywhere, including all of your own, cities and neighborhoods. And it just provides these insane 360-degree photography opportunities. So you literally can feel like you're standing on the Eiffel Tower overlooking Paris. It's amazing. But what's cool is if you look at that orange tab, Home and Hotel of the Day, they actually have a whole section dedicated to real estate. And what's really neat is you can use their app on your phone to create these tours. It puts them on the tourist app and website, but it gives you the embed code to actually put that on your website. So in exchange for you kind of uploading your own kind of tour to them, they let you host that over on your site so you could showcase the inside of a home, you could showcase the curb appeal, you could go to like the local shopping areas, and you could basically do like a 360-degree tour of almost anything. And before, that used to be expensive, and you couldn't do it with your phone. So really cool stuff here from Tourist, which is just a really neat app for the iPad. And then, of course, Homes Connect. I mean, I think we're the biggest missed opportunity. All the big portals have iPhone apps, iPad apps. A lot of your own brokerages now probably are offering you like an iPad app. Some of the MLSs are offering iPad apps. And so where I see there being a big opportunity is kind of back to that strategy around how's the market. Leverage the technology that was built by others to make yourself look good. And tweet that out, you guys. Use the other people's technology to make yourself look great. If you're in Omaha, Nebraska, and you're at a freaking Starbucks, and you pull out whatever this is on my screen and start clicking around, I don't really start thinking Homes Connect and Homes.com is cool. I start thinking you're cool. I hope this makes sense. And you could rinse and repeat that with any of the other amazing apps that are out there. All the things that you're learning about today, if you're comfortable enough sharing these and showing these to people, like people love me, you guys, because I teach them about all the cool apps. Like that's cool, right? Well, guess what? Like you can be that person for your kind of sphere of influence. And if it's relevant to real estate or not, it falls into what I call and what Gary Vee calls the thank you economy. You guys all are probably pretty pumped right now because you learned a lot of cool stuff. It's just how the world works today. So use the technology built by others to make yourself look great. And that goes down all the way to the core of the whole class today, right? You are using what Steve Jobs and these guys built, these really revolutionary, visionary people to make your business better. I just think it's an amazing opportunity. So I think you guys can tell that I get pumped up about a class like this. And we're going to do some Q&A, which I can't wait to do, and talk a little bit about what I'm up to. And I guess we'll bring back on the real host of the show, Deb, and everybody will take back over. But how do you want to do this, Deb? Can we talk about Curator, or do you guys talk about it?
Yeah, I put your slides there. You got 2 slides there. Why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. So just really quickly, you guys, if you're interested in what I do, I have a free resource that I built for you. It's as simple as that. You go to curator.com, CURAYTOR.com, and on Facebook in the last 3 years, there have been 80,000 conversations about companies, websites, iPad apps, etc. And the problem on Facebook is that even though there's these great conversations, they kind of fall out the bottom the way like a Craigslist ad does. A day after you posted, it's gone. And so what my business partner and I did is we took the feed from Facebook and we organized it so that you guys could search by any topic. We have a trending tab so that you always see kind of the most popular discussions. You can do research on products. You can do research on companies. We see the team from Homes.com in there all the time. Anytime a vendor's being discussed, a lot of times they get in and answer questions. And so it's a great resource. So I'd love you guys all, because this is free. There's no membership. There's no paywall. Go to Curator.com. At the top of the site, you're going to see a little black drop down. And if you guys do want to give us your email, every Wednesday night at 9:05, we do a live hour show called The Water Cooler. And I would love you guys to tune in. We drink a couple beers. We have a lot of fun. And so the website and the show, no sponsors. We don't make money. That's just our gift back to the industry. And we just love doing it. And it's where we learned all these cool ideas, by the way, right? Like, we don't actually know anything. We listen to about 15 to 20,000 agents who are killing it, and we share the ideas that kind of bubble to the top. So Curator, I'm really proud of it. It's my first ever company that I started, and so I'm pumped, and it just launched about a month ago. And then on the back of that, we do work with some high-end consulting clients, and we share this with everybody. This is where we start with our clients, because at the end of a class like this, or at the end of like a conference, a lot of people don't know where they need to start. So what we've been able to do for people is at least help them specify the 9 areas they need help in, even if they don't know where they're at. And then they grade themselves. So you can see website conversion, social strategy, online rep, online ads, and then content creation, lead gen, lead management, transaction management, past client, and database. And so a lot of times it's hard with all this stuff out there to take a big step back and go, what the heck should I really be doing? And so, and then also, where should I personally start? And so what we do for our consulting clients is they fill this out for us, and that lets them know, basically, that lets us know where we need to start for them. And so anybody on the call today, if you're taking notes or if you get the slides, grade yourself on a 1 to 10 in these 9 competency kind of areas, and then just start with the lowest number. And so that's a good kind of a quick way to kind of figure out a strategy for you personally. If you're interested, we have 12 clients. So when I say that we don't work with a lot of people, I'm just being completely honest. We're super expensive. And the quick sales pitch here is that everything you see on the screen is handled by myself and my partner and our team. We run your business and marketing from end to end. It's about $3,000 per month. We choose the software for you. We work with the vendors for you. If you decided Homes.com was the right choice and it made sense, you would never call them. We would do that for you. We're an agency model, and we love what we do. So if you do think that, it's usually 300,000 GCI and up, you have to have an admin, you have to have a buyer's agent. You can't just kind of be new to the business, just not going to be the right fit. But if you feel like I'm talking to you right now, you're a husband and wife that might hire a third person, you might want to call us instead. You're a team that's absolutely killing it, but you're missing your kids' soccer games, you might want to call us. And so if you're interested, go to curator.com/audit. And if you don't fall into those categories, obviously the regular Curator site is really a gold mine beyond even what we can do sometimes. But if you're interested in working with myself and my partner, Jimmy, curator.com/audit. I'll shut up. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I am going to hop on Twitter and answer as many questions as I can.
Oh,
do we do Q&A right now
Yep.
here?
Yeah, we're going to.
Okay.
And in fact,
Cool.
for all those people that can't afford your high-end services here, Homes.com has all of this. So give us a call. We have some great questions for you, Chris. One is from Jessica, and she says, what is the best realtor transaction management app?
Well, that's a great question, and I have to be really transparent here. I work for a company called Dotloop, and that's what they handle, and so we're in the process with them of building an iPad app. DocuSign, Cardivi, there are other options out there. I think what you have to just figure out is, I always start with, what is it that you need it to do for you, right? So look in, when she introduced me, she said Dotloop's the fastest growing platform in real estate. There's a reason for that. We feel like we solved a big problem. Transaction management is something that more and more there is a need to be mobile. I don't think the answer is having an app for your clients to download, because that's actually just one more thing they have to do. So I would just make sure that that when you send something to somebody, Can they click it? Can they open it? Can they sign it? And can they do that from anywhere in the world on any device? And if it does that, everything else will probably be okay.
All right, this is a question from Gloria, and I made this mistake, so I'd love to hear your answer. She's wondering, I'm considering an iPad. Would you think the 16 be enough hard drive to operate a real estate business? I would say no. I'm disappointed I got a 16. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because as much as I say, oh, I use the cloud, da-da-da, I always end up having to delete stuff in inopportune times. And so I do think that for an iPad for a real estate professional, 32 gigs is kind of where you need to be. Yeah. If, again, you're using the cloud and using all that stuff, but I think at the end of the day, 32 or, they even have a bigger one now, Deb. They have a 128. It's like $1,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So for me, it's like I want a 128 iPhone. My phone is the one that I take all the pictures and videos on.
Right. No, the 16 is way too small. I have to keep deleting things. It's so frustrating.
What about a Mini? We've had some questions about Mini and LTE versus Wi-Fi. And explain LTE one more time because a lot of people were asking about that.
Sure. So, there was 3G, just meaning kind of the data speed of a mobile device, right? And we had 3G, and then you heard people marketing 4G. Well, the problem was 4G was fake, okay? 4G was like the device getting better, not the network. LTE is a new set of towers, and it is faster than your Wi-Fi at your house. Wow. If you have an LTE device, go on your iPhone or iPad and download Speed Test, and do a test of your bandwidth, and then test your Wi-Fi. LTE is faster than Wi-Fi in most cases. And so that was a game changer for mobile because now we don't have to wait for stuff to load so long. Now if we do a video and we want it on YouTube, it takes like 90 seconds, not like 9 minutes. And so I would get an LTE model unless you're willing to invest in a MiFi. But I don't like carrying two things. I mean, for me, it's worth the $15 a month in data to not have to carry a whole nother thing. So that's what I went with. And then Mini versus Maxi, with all jokes aside, it could come down to your personal eyesight, honestly. Yeah. And because for me, the smaller screen, at first I thought, I love it now. And again, it's because it's smaller, I use it more. The bigger screen is my wife, of course, has. Listen, I have an iPad Mini, an iPad 1, an iPad 4, all like within about 3 feet of me right now. And so, if you had to just get one, I almost think that the regular size is probably the way to go.
Right.
If you already have one, you think about getting another one, or you've already had one, and you're kind of comfortable with the iPad as a tool, then I think the Mini, for me, I'll get the Mini with the Retina in April, and I'm good for a while. So I love the Mini. So I think it's just preference. Probably.
Okay. Steve Martin is making a comment here. Chris, I request that you address using Siri for dictation, texts, etc. It has saved me so much time. I have also used Siri to help transcribe a recorded talk, and it is surprisingly effective.
Yeah, that's actually really great insight. Thanks for whoever said that. I mean, for me, Siri at first was like gimmicky, and so I stopped using it. It's like, I don't need to know where the Chinese place is. I know. It's like right across from my house, And so, but when it became useful was if you're driving, if you're in transit and you want to get something on your calendar, like remind me to call Chris Thursday at 4. I mean, it's pretty great for that. Texting, you can. It's not on the iPad and the iPhone. Siri, it isn't just this thing you can use. When you're Facebooking, tweeting, typing, or anything else, you can also talk, and it'll type. There's actually one app that I use called Audio Notes. Audio Notes, all one word for the iPad.
Audio Notes.
And that app is so cool. It will literally record, like at a conference, it'll record the speaker. And as you type while they talk, if you go back to what you typed and click on any of the words, the audio will pick up from that moment.
Oh, great.
It is unbelievable. Audio Notes. So great
feedback. Okay. Wow. Chris, we've run out of time, and we still have some great questions. So maybe we'll get back to everybody. Mel?
I think Chris said he was going to check that. You were going to check the Twitter stream, yes?
Yeah, I'm going to go on Twitter, pound Secrets Webinars. If you have any questions right now, tweet it, and I'll answer a million.
Great.
And then I just want to thank you guys for having me, and I think that when the dust settles, everybody will feel like they had a great session. And I'm going to actually stick around and listen to Joe because at the end of the day, the iPad is a way to better run your business, but if you don't have buyers and sellers, it doesn't really matter, right?
Right, exactly. Thank you, Chris. Everyone loved what you said and loved the content. So thank you so much. Joe, are you there?
I am. What a great session that was.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a great webinar, Chris. That was awesome. And the thing is that I worked with Chris for a few years, and it was some of the best times that I've had. I learned a lot from him. I continue to learn a lot from him. He really, really knows his stuff. And it's great. And to be able to tether off him today is really awesome because he brought up so many good points about things. And I think one of the best points he brought up was, hey, I can tell you about all these different apps, but at the end of the day, you got to get buyers and sellers. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. Russell Shaw was, again, over half of traffic to his website is coming directly from Homes.com. And so we asked the question, why Homes.com?
At half the price of Zillow.
3 reasons.
At half.
And half the price of Zillow, right. Exactly. And so there's 3 reasons for Homes.com. Number one is we're getting between 11 and 15 million unique visitors to our site every month. So that means a lot of traffic. And those people are looking at a lot of pages on Homes.com. And second of all is that 91% of the people that come to Homes.com are going to be buying or selling a home in the next 12 months. So number 2 is opportunity. Now, here's number 3, is about 9 out of 10 people, about 90% of the people looking for houses on Homes.com are not yet committed to a realtor. So think about that. That is a huge opportunity to capture both buyers and sellers. And in the next 6 minutes, I'm going to show you how to do that in 2 easy steps. So what you're looking at right now on your screen is you're looking at the homepage for Homes.com. So you type in, hey, I'm looking for properties in Chicago, Illinois, and all I have to do is I just click search. Just like any other search portal, you click search, and then you say, okay, let's take a look at some listings. So you click on that, and what it does is it brings you to your listing feed. Now, the thing is that there's a lot of listings out there, and a lot of people, just because there's listings doesn't mean that people know exactly what they're doing. They're going to be looking and saying, wait a minute, I have questions about a certain school district, or I have questions about a certain maybe hip neighborhood I want to be in. And, I'm just trying to figure out, all the best parts about it. Or maybe, hey, I have to sell a house first, but most of people, as you know, they kind of want to see what's out there. So they're going to say, yeah, I want to look to buy houses, but I have to sell a house first. And one of the biggest things I've learned in this convention season, right now we're about halfway through convention season. Deb, you alluded to, I just got back from Keller Williams. One of the things that people were talking about is people came up to me and said, I'm looking for ways to capture sellers. And I haven't heard that like this many times in years. And that tells me 2 things. One, it tells me that the market is really getting better. Because for years, people, I want buyers, I want qualified buyers, that's all I'm looking for. So now when you hear people saying, I want to work with sellers, that's awesome because that means they're confident that they can get those houses sold in a quick amount of time. And we're seeing that. So, and number 2 is that if you think about most real estate web portals, when you go on there, it's pretty much buyer-focused. I mean, think about it. You go on there, I'm looking for a house. And on this screen right here, you're seeing a lot of houses. So those would naturally kind of fit the buyer mold. But now I'm going to show you how to capture not only buyers, but also sellers in 2 easy steps. So up above the listings where you see that, there's the arrows that are pointing. That's a brand new product. It's called Local Ads. And what this enables an agent or brokerage to do is to actually sponsor a city on Homes.com where they can sponsor a city, and this is in limited quantity, where they can capture both buyers and sellers in multiple ways. Number 1, above the listings, you see there's a link to a website and a phone number. And then to the right, though, which is adjacent to that and it comes with it, is also a larger box with a space for text where you can ask a local pro. So, for instance, if I'm a seller, I have nowhere on here to go for resources to find out, is it the right time to sell? What's my house worth? Can you come inside my house? That's the other thing is that, people say, yeah, I want a valuation of my house. Well, if you want an instant valuation of your house, I mean, you're not really looking, you're not really being serious then. Because as we all know, as real estate professionals, we have to be inside someone's house to see the improvements they've done to the property, to be able to really visualize that house versus the comps that you're pulling up. So that's the key. And this is a way for you to be able to do that right on Homes.com. So, for instance, this is Chaz here, and you can click to his website, but I can ask Chaz a question simply by going on here and clicking in that box and typing in, I have a question for you. So when you do that, and you know what, Deb, if you can advance that slide for me because it's kind of sticking here, I guess.
Okay, got it.
Oh, there we go. Okay, wait, I think it's coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, you go in there and you can click on there. I live in Lincoln Park and was thinking about selling. Can you tell me what my house is worth? So again, not a lot of information I've asked for right now, but basically I'm asking for Chaz to give me a call back. So I click on Ask My Question. And when I do that, what happens then is you get this form that pops up. Okay, so you get a form that pops up on the screen because right now I haven't given you any information. So in order for me, and this is great for Chaz because I have to put in my name, email address, and phone number. These are mandatory fields, and agents love that. The worst thing, and I've heard this from agents, they're saying, oh, I hate it when when they don't make it mandatory for a phone number. Because if I'm serious and I really want you to contact me, I'm going to give you my phone number. That's a good lead. That's a good opportunity. When I just put in whatever email address, that means I'm only half serious. I'm not really caring about it. Mm-hmm. But this is an opportunity to capture people that are really ready to go, that want real questions answered. And it's not just for seller focus, but also buyer focus as well. So I go on there, I fill out my name, my email address, my phone number, and my question automatically auto-populates right into that box that I've asked in the previous screen. I click send. Chaz is getting a lead. Chaz now has my information. He can now call me, email me, and answer my question, set up an appointment, and get the inside track on my business. So that's one example right there. And what you saw there was a very basic model, Ask a Local Pro. There's a lot of different examples here. One thing I want to point out to a couple tips. First of all, is this. You can put your social icons in that screen that goes above the listings. I highly encourage you to do that because now they can click on there, connect with your Facebook business page, connect with your Twitter feed, and your LinkedIn page as well. So get those put on there. That's one tip. The second thing is this, is that let's say you have a lot of listings, or you're a brokerage, and you have a ton of listings, and you're saying, you know what, how can we get more exposure on Homes.com for our listings? You can actually use that space to put your listings, like what John Kramer did here. He's got all of his listings there. Now there's one. If I click an arrow back or forth, it'll shuttle to another listing. So if you've got a lot of listings, these can shuttle right through, and all I have to do is click on it. It'll take me to that listing on Homes.com, and then I can request a showing or get more information on it. So that's a great, great space to be able to drive traffic to your own listings right on Homes.com. That's another way to be able to use that. And then another thing you can do on that is to be able to, again, customize what you want to put in that text box. And I tell people, you can put whatever you want in there as long as it fits in the box. So, for instance, you saw Ask a Local Pro, but you might say something like, short sale questions answered here. You're a short sale specialist. So now I can ask a short sale question right in that box. This is perfect for people who have a niche market. Foreclosure questions answered here. They can fill that box right in. First-time buyer questions answered here. So you get my point, but that's what you can do, and the possibilities are really endless for this because, again, you put it in there, people ask a question, again, buyers and sellers both captured. If you're in the mortgage business, I know we have some mortgage professionals on here. You can also do Ask a Mortgage Pro, need help with financing. So there's opportunities there, but you get the point of what we're doing here for that. So it's pretty simple. It's really two easy steps. One, people click on the city they want to look for properties in, and then two, they ask you a question. That's really it. And then you have you get all their information. Now you ask about pricing. So how is pricing? So what we try to do is follow the Facebook and Google model here. So we say, how much do you want to spend? So it's not like, hey, you're getting 20% market share here. You're getting 40% market share. Well, 20% of what? 40% of what? So we're saying, how many times you want to be seen? You want to be seen 1,000 times a month? 10,000 times a month? So what you need to do is you call in the number and you talk to a representative from Homes.com, and they'll be able to tell you how many impressions are available for your city. So you can tell us whatever city you want. We look up, we tell you it's available, and then you can buy as little or as many as you want. So you could be seen as little as 1,000 times, or as many as hundreds of thousands of times depending on the market. So this is great because it can fit any budget. So I've seen them go from all over the scale, but we go with whatever you can fit into your monthly budget, which is great. And it's month to month, so there's no long-term commitment there either. So that works pretty good. And again, following that model is nice because basically we can cater to big and small clients.
So Joe, some folks are punching in their
really about it.
Some folks are punching their zip codes in already to check it out. They're going to have to call that number, I think. But it varies from zip code to zip code as well, right, price-wise?
It does. It does based on the amount of traffic. So the best thing to do is to just call right in. And it takes a second. All we'll do is we'll be able to look up. You tell us what city, what zip code. And the differentiation here is this. Definitely check cities because anytime, I think more people type in cities than zip codes, unless you're in a big city, then people will type in the city, the zip code, of course. So you have the ability to sponsor both cities or zip codes. I think the better value is the city itself because you capture the whole city. But again, if you want to specify one zip code, you can do that as well. And the nice thing about it, when you get on the phone, it really takes a minute. They just go in and say, which city you're looking for. Here it is. They can tell you exactly what's available. They can tell you sliding scale of how much the cost is. You can say, hey, my budget's $50 a month. They'll be able to tell you for $50 how many times you'll be able to be seen every month in that city. And that's cool. And that's guaranteed exposures. So if you're paying for 10,000 exposures, you're going to be seen 10,000 times guaranteed in that month in that city only. So that's pretty awesome.
So we have a question about how does it work for sellers?
Sure. So how it works for sellers is like this. Like I mentioned, if you're a seller, chances are you might also have you're going to probably be buying something as well. So a lot of times these sellers, they go on to places like Homes.com and they say, well, look, I don't know what my house is worth. I have a feeling it's worth $250. Let's see what we can afford for $350, right? Because people get excited about real estate. So now they're on Homes.com. They're looking at houses for $350. Now they haven't chosen a realtor yet. They're just looking around, and they're looking and they're thinking, okay, well, I can click on this listing and ask this and click on a listing and see what this house is worth. But maybe this isn't the agent I want to sell my house. Maybe I just want to get an opinion from somebody who's not tied to anything yet to just find out what my house is worth. And that's where that box is perfect for sellers, where they can basically ask questions like, what's my house worth? Or is it the right time to sell? Or what do you think about this particular, selling at this particular time of year? So,
and Joe, I believe you said you could customize that ad, right? So you could target sellers directly if you wanted to. You can. In fact, as a matter of fact, in that text box, you can put things like, selling a home, your questions answered here. Something like that. I'm just throwing stuff off the cuff here, but yeah, right. As a savvy agent, you can come in and kind of market however you want. If you want to position your marketing towards sellers, then definitely use verbiage in that text box that's going to be geared towards capturing sellers. And like I said, it's month to month, and it's that simple. It's a brand new product. It just came out last month, so there is still availability. But I will tell you, and this is only halfway through convention season, this has been the hottest seller that we've seen this year from Homes.com right now. This is what everybody's looking for.
Right, and Russell Shaw keeps calling us up asking for more and more zip codes. So if you're in Phoenix, Arizona...
you might be out of luck. By the way, you can't reach Russell by calling that number.
That's a Homes.com number. So if you're looking for your zip code, call Homes.com, get in now, and get some more buyers and sellers. And here's Joe's contact information if anyone would like to contact Joe. Wow, what a webinar.
I just put that information up there if you want to follow me on Twitter. Hit me up on Facebook. There's some really cool content I put up on there, and so that'd be great to chat with you guys.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. And thank you, Joseph, and thank you, Chris. You were both fantastic. To our listening audience, thank you for participating. The next Secrets of Top Selling Agents webinar is going to be a treat with agent and CRS speaker Julie Beal joining Pinterest addict and Dominion Homes Media Director of Social Media, Erica Campbell, to show how you to dramatically increase our SEO leads and exposure with Pinterest, the fastest growing social platform ever. So that will be, as always, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. An invitation will be sent to you prior to the webinar. Actually, if you go now and sign up, you will get this free, which is fantastic, Achieving the American Dream. It's a home buying guide, and you can customize it with your own name on it and give it out to leads and clients that you have. So go and sign up for Julie Beal's webinar. Go to secretswebinars.com. Once you've registered, wait a minute, and it will come up Achieving the American Dream handout, and you can download it and then customize it with your own name on it and give it out to your clients as a freebie. You're welcome.
Should we tell them how to win that $50 too?
Yeah, let's go back to that. Exactly.
By that real quick.
Okay.
And we've chock full of everything, so somebody deserves. If they've stuck through all the technical and all the amazing information.
Yeah, please go to facebook.com/home.
Homes Pro. There's an S missing there.
Oh, no. Really?
Yes,
okay.
Homes Pro.
Okay, thanks, Mel. And you can win a $50 gift card. All right, so I would just like to say thank you, Chris, again. Fabulous webinar. I'll be listening to it several more times. And thank you, Joe, and thank you to our awesome webinar team, Lindsay, Laura, Gary, Audrey, Patty, Monica, Amber, and of course, Mel. Thanks, everyone. Be sure to participate in the exit survey. I read everyone's responses. I love your responses. Goodbye, everyone, and enjoy the rest of the day.
See you the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.